people, how are you doing? I'm having a damn good day. Welcome back to the channel, and as promised, I've gone ahead and recreated and replicated the 4-4-2 Xabi Alonso tactics in EAFC 24 just for you guys. So if you are having a Bayer Leverkusen career mode or even a Xabi Alonso career mode, you can potentially use the 3-4-2-1 formation that I created yesterday and the 4-4-2 formation that I'm creating right now. So if you can, hit that like button down below. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. And it also lets me know that you guys are liking what I'm doing as well. And also subscribe if you are new to the channel. We are looking to get to 2,000 subscribers fairly soon. I think we're like 40 or somewhat away. So if you guys can, please subscribe, like, and let's hop on right into this one. So starting up off the bat, we've got Vert and Boniface up front. Vert more as a false 9, you could say, dropping deeper into the midfield at times, helping support Xhaka and Andrich, but we will get into that soon enough. We've got Adli, Xhaka, Andrich, and Teller on the wings and in the midfield. We've got Frimpong, Tapsoba, Tar, and Grimaldo in the defense. And then between the sticks, as always, we've got Hardeki as the captain. In the substitutes area, we've got Schick, Kloschek, Palacios, Hoffman, who does drop to the bench in this formation. Although he can play as a right winger, don't get me twisted. He can definitely play in the right position. We've got Kovar, Hincapi, and Kasonu to complete the substitutes bench. And then in the reserves, we've got Stanisic, we've got Arthur, Amiri, Fosu Mensah, and then a few others I don't care to mention. So for the formation, it is just a basic flat 4-4-2 formation. We've got one goalkeeper, 2 centre-backs, 2 full-backs, 2 central midfielders, 2 wide midfielders, and then 2 strikers. So with the tactics going forward, if you didn't know that Xabi Alonso likes to use this formation against the lesser teams, he likes to try and be a bit more aggressive towards them, and you'll see that throughout the course of the tactical breakdown, as well as the instructions that we do have in place for the players. So we've got to press off the loss of possession. Before it was, more or less try and sit back, wait for them to make a heavy touch mistake or something like that. With this, you're looking to press the opposition when you lose the ball, make sure that they're uncomfortable 24/7. As for the team width, the dynamic is slightly wider than normal. It's set to 60, so it's more of a man v man situation at all times across the pitch, trying to match the opposition more times than not. And then as for the depth, it's incredibly high, set to 90. Like I say, you are going to use this formation against the lesser teams. So teams that will more or less like to sit back, and that way, with the nice high line, you can continuously pile on as much pressure as possible on them and their low block at times. As for the build-up play, again, it is set to balance its approach, because you do want to have those potential long balls with the fast-paced build-ups, or even just the slow methodical movement through the final thirds of the field. As for the transformation, it stays very similar to the previous formation, but it is also set to a possession-based system. I know it is a 4-4-2, but what that does help you with is, in possession, you can have a front four essentially with your 2 wingers pushing nice and high up and leaving your midfield slightly more exposed, but then you have your fullbacks who do tend to bomb on and play nice and high up the field. So it does help very much with the possession stance of this team and the formation going forward. And then as for the width, it's set to 65. You don't want to have it too widely spread out, but it is quite nice and wide. Working the ball out to the wider areas of the pitch is essential in order to get the best out of this formation, and that's why we've gone with the 65 width. As for players in the box, it is set to 4, which means that there will only be 2 players in the box, mainly the likes of Verts and Boniface or Schick, or whoever you have as your 2 strikers. They will be those guys making those dangerous runs in the area, because you do want to try and surround the box per se with as many bodies as you can to try and win that ball back and potentially put it back into the box for another scoring opportunity. As for corners and free kicks, as always, it is set to 4. So starting off between the sticks, Hardeki, he's got the same set of instructions as the 3-4-2-1 formation. Again, saving on crosses is set to balance. He's not very good with claiming those aerial balls, as well as you need him to be a super keeper. You are playing an incredibly high line. You need a keeper to be a bit more mobile, being able to run with his line, claim the ball, circulate it back into play, whether it's into the defense, the midfield, or even those longer, wide-ranging passes into the forward line. You need a goalkeeper that can do that, and I think he's fairly good at doing so. Moving slightly on higher, we've got Tapsoba and Tar. They are set to their basic instructions as well. It is a less protective midfield in front of them, so you need them to be very disciplined with their positioning, and that's why we've gone with the basic set of instructions for them. As for Grimaldo, as well as Frimpong, they will look to bomb on forward, creating a lot of width down either flank. They are set to join the attack and have a mixed approach, so sometimes they will look to sometimes invert into the midfield, but more times than not, they will look to make those overlapping runs, trying to create space for the wingers to more or less invert and create chances for themselves. And then stick to position is a priority. As you can see for Frimpong, he sets the same set of instructions as well. So moving on into the midfield, we've got Xhaka and Andrich. They have similar roles, but they do it slightly differently, if that makes sense. So we'll start with Xhaka. He's set to have that box-to-box role, having a balanced attack, getting forward a bit more than what Andrich would, but he will also stay on the edge of the box. Like I said, for the previous set of instructions, he will look to create those little triangle passes and passages of play, trying to create for the forward line or the attacking players in that moment, or potentially, if he has enough space, pop off shots from just outside of the box. Normal interceptions are set to be on for him. Cover the wing, he will look to slot into that left back role if need be, if the likes of Grimaldo has bombed on too far forward. And at the same time, you do want him to try and pick out those little pockets of space in and around the midfield, because there is going to be a lot of movement with this team going forward, and it does generate a lot of space. And what you want is for your midfield counterparts to function in those little half spaces that are generated. Moving on to Andrich, though, his midfield partner. He's set to stay back while attacking, stay on the edge of the box as well. So he will provide a layer of protection for Tar and taps over at times, but it's not good enough because you will have Grimaldo and Frimpong both bombing on. So it's basically a back three, essentially, that you are somewhat trying to create. So he will do the Xhaka role, but on the opposite side of the field, the defensive section more so. Aggressive interceptions are set to be on. You want him to be aggressive, engaging with the opposition more times than not, because like I say, it is a midfield too, and you do need a bit more physicality in that area to try and impose yourself on the opposition. Cover the wing, like I said for Xhaka, he's going to cover the left-hand side, while Andrich is going to cover the right-hand side if Frimpong does tend to bomb on too far forward. And then again, he is also going to try and pick out those little pockets of space and function in those little half spaces that are generated with the fluid movements of the front four, you could say. As the right winger, we've got Taylor, a very crazy shock move for me. I did not expect the likes of Nathan Taylor. I know he played for Burnley last season. He went back to Southampton and they ended up selling him to a European club the size of Bayer Leverkusen. So good for him, honestly. But he's set to come back on defense, always helping out his fullback at times. When you do have those bombing on fullbacks, you do need your wingers to track back a bit more, help out on the defensive end, which is what Taylor and Adley are supposed to do. Chance creation is set to having a balance width, so sometimes they will look to cut inside, especially if your fullback is bombing on and creating the width down either flank. Getting in behind is essential. You want to try and test that backline, expose the space left in behind. And we know that in Germany, there's always going to be space in behind. They do tend to play very high lines in Germany, and that's often exposed by the quick, fast-paced attackers. Aggressive interceptions is supposed to be on you are trying to press that backline, the opposition's backline, with the front four, clogging up those lanes, cutting out certain passing angles, and then potentially turning it around and creating fast-paced counter-attacks. And then, of course, for support on crosses, you want him to stay on the edge of the box. And then as for Adley, he's got the same set of instructions as well. Come back on defense, having a balance with getting him behind, aggressive interceptions, and stay on the edge of the box. Again, if you didn't know, Adley is a left-footed player and Taylor is a right-footed player, you want them to be on their natural foot when crossing the ball and supplying that forward line of Wirtz and Boniface, or potentially Schick at times, to have a bit more of a natural winger feel to your gameplay. Moving into our front two, we've got Wirtz and Boniface. Starting off with Wirtz, he's set to have a balance with making those arcing runs in and out, not really taking up too much of a central focus point because that is what Boniface is there for. But like I say, he will make those arcing runs, potentially drawing opposition players in and out of position at times, creating more space for either your midfield or your wingers to operate, or even potentially Boniface to have a bit more space in the box. For his attacking runs, I've set him to be a false nine. He will look to drop deeper into the midfield, link up play quite nicely, interchange passes with that midfield at times. And like I said earlier, he will look to try and pull and draw out the opposition's defense and just create space for the forward line. Aggressive interceptions are set to be on. You do want your forward line, like I said, for your wingers to try and press the opposition's back down, press the goalkeeper potentially, and have them create their own issues and their own problems for themselves. And then in terms of his defensive support, I've said him to come back on defense. What that does is it essentially just helps him create that more of that number 10 role as a striker, him dropping slightly further off of what Boniface's normal natural position would be, and creating more space for his counterparts. And speaking of which, we've got Boniface, he's said to have a balance width as well, but because you've got Wirtz dropping off and making those arcing runs more times than not, he will look to try and take up that central role a bit more, but he will also have the ability to make those arcing runs in and out of the box as well. We've got him set to having a mixed attack. You can have him set to be a target man, but I think having him make those runs in behind, trying to exploit the backline space that they do leave him behind them, I think that's very, very important for the system to be a success. So that's why I've gone with it to be a mixed approach, opposed to it just being a one-off target man or one-off get in behind. He wants him to have an array of different attributes to his game. Aggressive interceptions are set to be on, and then stay forward. He will be the central focus, furthest forward point in the team, linking up play quite nicely, back to goal at times, holding up the ball, bringing other players into the attacking phase, and then moving it on and potentially making those deep runs into the box for goals. So yes, my dudes, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, hit that like button. Just a friendly reminder, of course, the 4-4-2 formation under Xabi Alonso at Bayer Leverkusen in EA FC 24. I hope you have enjoyed this. Have a damn great day. I'm out.